Yes, indeed. We have returned with Metamorphosis, aka Brother Neil Frazier. And this is going to be a hard hitting show as always. But this might be hard hitting and it may hurt some feelings as we speak about traditions of holidays and Black folks. So we're going to break it down, but it's good to see you again, brother. The
Good to
weeks are
see
flying
you as
by
well.
fast, but I don't mind because it's like every other day we get to do a show, even though a week goes by.
It really does go by fast, now that you mention it. I'm like,
It's fast. Yeah.
like right after we do a show, it may be a couple of days before I get some inspiration, but this week it was
Hmm.
the same night after I did the show. I was like, okay, this month,
That's
this
good.
month,
You're getting faster downloads.
that's right, that's right, and
Wow.
yeah, but always good to be with you, man. Just the short time we had to talk, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
Life throws us curves, and boy, you better have the right bat to swing.
Yes. You just have to adapt and think on your feet. You
That's
see?
right. That's
Adapt and think on
absolutely
your
right,
feet.
brother. That is absolutely right. And sometimes, you gotta think on before you get on your feet,
Yeah.
because you know how you lay in the bed sometimes and your mind is going and you're thinking about stuff and what you're gonna do the next day or that day or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, every time now it seems like there's so many downloads coming, I have to block some of them.
That
I'm
means
like,
you're
okay,
powerful,
look,
brother.
huh?
That means you're very powerful. You're chosen also. It's a trust that comes when you get those downloads. Everybody doesn't get those downloads. And you
Right.
can tell when you're off the mark, when you don't get as many, because I'm not saying you, but when people start really not living right,
Yeah.
the downloads reduce.
Yes.
And the more righteously zoned they are, they keep coming
That's
effortlessly.
a fact.
You see what I mean? And
Yes.
one trick that I've learned to slow time down is
Uh-huh.
to live in the moment.
Uh-huh.
Live right now. We have
Yeah.
things in our head about, oh, I'm gonna do this tomorrow, I'm gonna do this next week. But this happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago. You'll be surprised when many people are not living in the moment where they are, so they cannot do or accomplish anything in the moment. And then when the time moves by, they say, oh man, I'm not getting nothing done. So sometimes
Right.
we gotta
Right.
we make our plans, but we put them down. You see,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I'm gonna do next week. Put it down or write it down. And what is from the past that can't change, unless you can learn from it, let it
Yeah.
sit until you really need it to be useful. But to
Yeah.
cry over a girlfriend from 40 years ago that you broke up with, it's not gonna help you. You know what I mean? I
Oh yeah.
had I had a girlfriend that had a profound effect on my life many decades ago. She passed away. I can't, you take the good and you move on.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. And
Hmm.
a lot of times you get those downloads from the past still trying to come, trying to break through the veil. And so you're thinking to yourself, okay, I know that's back when, and how does that
Right.
apply to me right now? And like you said, unless it's
Yes.
something, to remind you of some misstep or even
Right.
a good step, then you need
Right.
to just file it back in that compartment that it came from.
Yes.
And
That's
that's a
right.
constant battle in itself. And it's it actually is like a precursor to what we're talking about today,
Hmm.
because everything that we experience as Black people, or Sun people,
Hmm.
or African Americans, or Africans, or throughout the diaspora, has a definite impact on the processes in which we, move forward. So
Right.
we keep going back to the same things that have us in the condition we're in now. And what do they call it? Insanity? doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result.
Different result. Mm-hmm.
And so this is the main dynamic within the concept of the show today. And
Mm-hmm.
again, brother, I just want to greet you, everybody under the sound of my voice, the family. And yeah, it's another good day, man. Every day is a good day. It's
Yes.
just all about perception, you know? And
There you go.
it's like you can allow different people to bring energy to you to throw you off course. Like this morning, like for me, every time I started doing something, these different issues, different people calling or texting or, you know,
Yeah.
so you definitely have to stay like the horse with the blinders on. Now I see why they put blinders on horses. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if he or she is looking at the peripheral vision, there are all kind of distractions.
That's right.
So yeah, brother, this brings us to our show today. And if you want to put up your banner, I just want to
Oh,
kind of like
yes.
touch on a few things before we get into the story we're going to do with the parrots. But yeah, Black folks and toxic holidays. Why do we celebrate holidays? Where does this tradition originate? And more importantly, what is a holiday? So, just technically, a holiday is a day where you remember or celebrate some significant event in either our personal history or our cultural history, or as a nation.
Yes.
The issue that comes into play with us is that how and how you and I were talking about before the show, Lance, is how do we look at these holidays? What's the
Right.
purpose? So it just comes down to two basic viewpoints: the African or Black or some people versus the European ideology and view of the world. So, like that video we did on the sun and ice people. The problem that we have is that, and I know this is a sensitive topic for a lot of our people, because in a lot of ways these holidays we celebrate it as a result of. Now I will say this though, this is a very, very important thing to remember, that throughout the annals of history, okay, the only people that celebrate the victory of their oppressors over their consciousness are Negroes in America. And,
Mm.
and that in itself says a whole lot about the state that we found ourselves in, or that we find ourselves in to this day. So the reason why I say that it's the two different consciousness, African or Sun people versus European ideologies, is because this is at the soul or the root of Black folks. And again, as we always say, a lot of our mental illness, our self-hate, all of the things, our self-destruction, a lot of the different figures that have emerged from the Black culture and a negative traits can be tied to this. And one of the main reasons, well, there are two different, when we talk about the two different ideologies, but before I get into that, brother, I want to do the picture of the black parrot first.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, you guys know I like to give a little, story in the beginning to kind of shed light on our topic. Uh, so here we see the black parrot sitting on a branch, right? Minding its business, chilling, probably listening to some jazz or something, and all the other stuff that black people do, just basically chilling, right? And to the parrot, this view of life was okay, we got mangoes here, we got food growing in the ground, we got people happy, we're celebrating, different festivals because we didn't call these holidays, we called them festivals, which they actually are. And that is because, and this goes back to the two different viewpoints on how the European see the world and the African mind sees the world, or supposed to, before it was corrupted. But we always celebrated things that were attached to nature, such as Het Haru, the mother of the harvest. So we always looked at nature in terms of celebrating things like the rite of passage, things that were connected to our souls, like we knew we were connected to nature. So the black parrot, never thought about things like, well, am I, a king or a queen, or because these were things that we knew naturally. Nobody had to, question you about it. You didn't have to try to explain to anyone who you just were. Probably, well, not probably, but thousands of years later, you can put that other picture up, Lance. Thank you. Thousands of years later, well, tens of thousands of years later, possibly hundreds of thousands of years later, along comes the white parrot. So the white parrot comes along, and the black parrot is looking like, okay, should I? Because you get this fight or flight syndrome. Well, should I stay or should I leave? The impact was so strong because here you are, all you've ever seen is black parrots, right? Now all of a sudden a white parrot shows up. And so the black parrot said, okay, well, you know what? This is my land. I'm not flying away. If anything, they're not going to take over my tree, right?
Right.
Hypothetically. And so being who we are in our souls, operating off of all of our chakras and the Mayatan laws of truth, justice, righteousness, balance, harmony. These were the things that, encompass our existence. So now the white parrot shows up, and the first thing it does is it goes and perches on a higher branch. So the black parrot looks up and said, because again, we didn't have a warmongering personality, okay, or existence. We always face each other side by side or acknowledge the value of another person, right? The white parrot is up here on this branch and it says, why are you down on that lower branch? And the black parrot said, well, the whole tree is mine. And the white parrot said, well, it depends on what part of what branch of the tree you claim that gives its value. So now the black parrot is starting to think about stuff it never had to think about before. Like, okay, so what is the significance of you being on a higher branch since we're both on the same tree? And so the white parrot thought for a while. It says, because it means that I'm better than you. Okay, brother. And,
All
and
right.
so ever since that encounter, the black parrot has been trying to go on the higher branch symbolically in order to
Mhm.
raise its value and self-worth to where the white parrot said it is supposed to be. But mind you, the white parrot is tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands years. Some people even say millions, okay? But I'm just going by the radiocarbon dated information we have currently.
Mhm.
So the interesting thing about this is that when you celebrate something, you are celebrating something that represents uh, something that's in your soul, in the experience of your people.
Right.
Okay, and that has a great significance. And as I said earlier, um, the only people in recorded history that we know of are the Negroes in American society that celebrate the victories of their oppressors over their civilization. So today we're gonna kind of dive in a little bit. We'll cover a few of the holidays. Mainly, the point I want to bring out is that the two different viewpoints of the African mind and the European mind was rooted in the fact that when we celebrated something, we worshipped it and we poured libations in order
Mhm.
to evoke the spirit of our ancestors. So I'll start out with probably Halloween because this will hit to the point real quick. Whereas in the European psyche, there was a deep rooted fear of everything and everybody that was different from them.
Mhm.
Um,
That's
and
right.
and and I'll give, and that has a significant impact on our people. Um, and the terms are so we were a xenophilic people, okay, meaning the definition of that is a xenophilic is love, which is the root of the African soul, okay. The love for, attraction to, or appreciation of foreign people's manners, their customs, and cultures. Now that is who the soul of Black folks are. That's us. Okay. So here, like the white parrot that came along, at the core of the European celebration of holidays is based on fear, on xenophobia, which is the exact opposite, okay, of what's in the soul of Black folks. So xenophobia is the fear and hatred of strangers or foreigners or of anything that is strange or foreign. Okay. And there is an emotional and cultural connection and bond with what you are celebrating. So I want to ask a question that a lot of Black people don't think about. What exactly, when you're celebrating European holidays, are you bonded to? That's all you have to ask yourself that question. Because once
Mhm.
you get the answer, which there is no answer because you're not bonded to anything that they celebrate, then you will begin to be able to look objectively at solving this deep seated, rooted hatred that has been placed on our people based on the fears of Europeans. So, like I said, so in Halloween, everything that they celebrate as a holiday is rooted in some type of fear or conquest where they had to use force against someone to celebrate. And when we talk about misgiving, we're gonna bring that out as well. So on Halloween, like I was saying, which was October the 31st, which is their new year, basically they were afraid of their ancestors, okay, and they were haunted by them, I guess, from some type of guilt or what have you. Whereas when we had festivals or holidays, if you want to call them that, we poured libations in order to evoke the spirit of our ancestors. You see the difference? So even it's been said, it's been written in some of the documents in history that from the European perspective, I know Joel A. Rogers or J. A. Rogers talked about this as well, is that this deep-seated fear that Europeans have, they dressed up in costumes so their dead ancestors couldn't recognize them. Okay, and this is where that came from. See, a lot of these traditions our people are into, and we teach our children and pass down from generation, we have no concept, because if we did, we wouldn't
No
do
idea.
it. No
That's
idea,
right.
brother. None. And so just from what the white parrot told the black parrot, that's all it is. So the other thing too was, according to J. Rogers, they and this comes from his volumes of work. Anybody can read it, called "The Story of Civilization." But when they started giving them treats, okay, to trick them so that they wouldn't take out any vengeance on them. So this was this deep-seated fear of their own ancestors that really kind of made them the way they are in terms of how they celebrate holidays. On the flip side of that, when you had, let's look at, so we had some of the holidays that we worship was like I was saying earlier, Het Heru, and you'll see that in some of their folklore. Whenever you see when they have witches, okay, they have that black cat, right, in a circle. Okay, so this was also taken from Het Heru, the mother of the harvest, that our people celebrated. Okay, so we also celebrated, as I was saying, the rite of passage. We celebrated the beginning of the planting season. Okay, so whenever we had what they call holidays, it was a total different. So, and the Day of the Dead, okay, which is still celebrated. And one of the things I was really shocked at when I got to California and I saw the Mexicans marching up and down the street with this coffin, because I knew that this was a celebration that came out of a Kibalon, okay. And when I saw them doing that, and I started searching, and then they celebrate in South Africa, all of it is connected. It is the same concept. It's a celebration of our ancestors. It was not a fear of them.
Right. Big difference.
It's a major difference. It's a major difference in turn. So this is where that fear factor started to originate in Black people, where it had no concept, just like with death. Okay, there was no concept of death in our culture. It was the passage, the rite of passage, or passing on, and recycling, because we view the world the way we're supposed to view it. The recycle, everything in nature recycles, right?
Right.
So this began to cause all kind of problems within our own community, because when you go back and you listen to some of the old slaves' narratives, they didn't like some of these holidays. But like Dave Chappelle said, we had to be two different people. Okay, we had to be one way around white folks, and then another way when we got amongst ourselves. That's just the way it was. And your success in their world depended on how well you played that role. Okay, and so a lot of the slaves, I can't remember this. What is this? I can't remember her name. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But she was saying that even some of like their mothers, grandmothers and stuff, who still held on to a lot of the traditions that came out of Kibalon and even here on Turtle Island, that
Mm-hmm.
they knew that this was going to eventually erode our culture. See, our people, when you reading and writing is overblown, okay, in the sense that this is why we believed in balance. So if you have somebody that's good at reading and writing, but not have interpretive skills like someone like you, then and be able to put it in a I don't know why these people keep calling me, brother. Sorry.
It's okay, brother.
Yeah, yeah,
That's that energy.
and yeah, it is. It's that energy trying to throw me off my game, right? So anyway, so let's get back to this. Okay, so America is too, and you see this with Europeans throughout history and all of their documents. And we're going to talk about a little bit about with Christopher Columbus and
Mm-hmm.
why they originally tried to say, for us to celebrate. Well, we did celebrate a holiday in some places, even in America, they still do. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like I like to say, who discovered Christopher Columbus? Because he damn sure was lost. Okay, so when you talk about somebody discovering, how are you going to discover something when people are already there? And this shows you the narcissism. How is that possible? So if I come to your house right now and I say, "Oh, I like this land. I guess I'll put my flag up here," and you live it in the house, huh? But I put a for sale sign on there, put my flag on there, and then people coming to talk to me about your house. That's See, a lot of times, if our people just stop and think about a lot of this crazy stuff, we can remove it from our system. But we
Yeah.
can't do it if we continue to regurgitate, like the black parrot eventually did, the things that the white parrot has taught you. Which, when you think about it, how can somebody who is hundreds of thousands of years younger than you, doesn't even make sense? Now, that's not to say you can't learn anything from people that are younger than you. I do that every day. All I'm saying is your values and standards cannot be based on someone that comes hundreds of thousands of years behind you after you have established civilization. Okay. So, what I was going to say is America has are two nations, because a lot of people don't know the Confederacy was a nation. Okay. And this is part of their nature. And we're going to talk about this when we talk about Columbus, who discovered Columbus. But so again, I want to make the point that when we are celebrating European holidays, what are we binding ourselves to? Okay. And the fact that it's always been natural for us to celebrate the harvest. Okay. And the harvest is the manifestation of nature in all of its forms. Okay, this was the conceptual language that we use. All right. One of our first celebrations, we celebrated the spiritual knowledge of agriculture. What a lot of people don't know is Dr. George Washington Carver, our greatest agronomist here in American history. Anybody that want to debate that, feel free. Okay. But he actually celebrated this harvest that they call the harvest of agriculture. But these are, they don't talk about these things. They hide. This is one of the issues I have. Like I said, with black universities, because at the end of the day, you know, I get it. Whoever's funding you kind of helps control the, not helps control, they do control the curriculum. That's why I'm the only one that controls the curriculum of the academy. Okay. Because people always ask me, oh, you can get funding. Did you know you're going to? Yeah, I know that. But I guarantee you, there's going to be some type of condition attached to that fiat. Okay. So that was the other thing too, that our people always self-finance. So they were stunned and angry and envious and jealous of the fact that, again, our people, they tried to make them feel like they were inferior because, now imagine you being under the threat of death for learning how to read and write, but the same people that have you under this condition are the ones that's saying that you know, are inferior because you can't read or write. However, because of these spiritual harvests and the knowledge that we had, we didn't even need their language actually, because again, nature is our greatest teacher and has always been our spiritual knowledge. And
exactly.
we didn't need any of that. So and you know, it wasn't like black folks anywhere on any continent was sitting around waiting for Europeans to bring Jesus or civilization to us. No. The other thing too is the image of the conquistadors are not consistent with the documents in history. But what they show us in American books of these renowned looking European, no, they were criminals. They were let out of prisons in Europe. Okay. They were not, you know, and the women that came over here, you know what they were. I'm not going to put that out there because they might try to censor. But this image that they projected of these conquistadors, these godlike conquistadors, who, by the way, we know they weren't, because of the millions of people they slaughtered everywhere they went. Mm-hmm. Well over 150 million. That's a conservative figure. And again, this is not Neil Frazier. These are the documents of history. Some of their greatest historians and scholars like Joel A. Rogers, you know, have written about this. Will Durant. Okay. So the issue is that our people take everything they say at face value without studying the documents. Okay. Mm-hmm. And this is how we know, because the one thing that they did do, I'll give credit where it's due, they had to do that. So, okay, so like I have to write notes to myself because so much, you know. But they, according to Will Durant, okay, we're gonna go into some of these documents and we're gonna look at their true nature that they hide from the world. Mm-hmm. They're not these good Christians that they have you fooled to believe. Okay, but so again, we had this because of Heru, the mother of the harvest. We had this infinity to nature and celebrating it, which they call holidays now. We also celebrated. We kept this annual celebration of the hunt. The victorious hunt of the food, which we were grateful to the creator spirit. And see, the other difference too is on our holidays, we didn't worship symbols and images of men and women. Right. That's the narcissism, that godlike image they want of themselves. because they were jealous of the creator. And they tell you this in their scripts, okay? And you know, you believe all this stuff that this individual you call Satan was jealous of the creator. Man, I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff is crazy, bro. And so that's how you got, you know, this situation where this war in heaven. No, they were jealous of you, okay? And that dragon-like persona of conquest,
That's
or that
right.
Thor-like spirit, is what they brought to every land. They were not explorers, they were exploiters. There's a huge difference. And they were, like I said, we have to figure out, well, we know the Taínos was one of the people, they're basically the primary people that saved them, that saved Columbus. And then we're going to talk about what happened with the Taínos after what Christopher Colon wrote in his own diaries. We're going to cover that. But so as I said earlier, the only people in history that we know of that actually passed down in their own culture and civilization the conquest of their oppressors are the Negroes in America. Okay. If somebody knows of some other record somewhere, please let me know. Okay, so also to kind of finish this point with Het Heru, the mother of harvest, who was actually the Egyptian goddess of beauty, love, sensuality, and the arts. And she is the celestial cow, or Hathor. And you see this in ancient, this symbol, it's Hathor, the cow. You see this symbology throughout ancient history and our people. But the celestial cow that nourishes all creation and the manifestation of the great mother energy or soul or of our creativity on the planet. So we have to go back to when we looked at a holiday, it was a festival, a celebration of something in nature. And since the cow, gives birth, theoretically, in nature other than men, well, all things give birth, but primarily the cow was symbolic because of its astrological or celestial language that our people saw. Okay. Now, let's talk about something that's very, very important. I want to talk about, before I go into this right here and the celebration of Columbus Day and how that all changed the history of how we viewed the world and holidays. J.A. Rogers wrote in his volume on the story of civilization about misgiving, or what you call Thanksgiving. He wrote that when they first landed, the Europeans landed there in Connecticut, they were so hungry, they were starved. They looked like, those pictures they used to show us of babies in Africa, like they were some big saviors when they were the reason why the kids were starving in the first place. Then, and India. Then the Paraquat Indians, these Black Indians who had this soul in them, and W.E.B. Du Bois, he likened it to the river or water crying, the soul that is in Black folks, because you have this torment in your soul, having to live this double standard and being subjected to the lowest form of humanity that you can be subjected to. So J. Rogers said that after they got their strength up, these 40 or so men, they built a log cabin. And what is the first thing they put on top of this log cabin? Was a big cannon pointed right at the Paraquat Indians. Okay, who are the ones that was responsible for them surviving the harsh winter there. And they didn't even know how to farm. They didn't know how to hunt for food. They didn't know any of this. Okay, so Paraquat Indians, come on in, this is in our nature, we feed people, we help people, blah, blah, blah. And according to, again, the documents of history, Governor Bradford recorded that 1 year to that day, they fired off that cannon and blew up the Paraquat Indian little tribe territory right there, the ones that had fed them and helped them. And he said the ones that didn't die, the adults, they cut their heads off and kicked them around like a soccer ball. And the children, they just sliced them up with swords. Again, this is J.A. Rogers, one of the foremost European scholars. So don't, Neil Frazier didn't write this because I wasn't there. Okay, so, but J.A. Rogers, who I have to give credit. Here's a white man that not only recognized, but also had something inside of him that allowed him to tell the truth about history, in which he got documents from history, okay, in order to write this groundbreaking work, The Story of Civilization. Okay. And like I said, they kept good records. They write, I don't know if that was, to make them feel pious or pompous or whatever, but they did write down all of the evil shit they did. They wrote it down. So here's Governor Bradford of Connecticut saying that after they cut the heads off the ones that were still, alive, he said the stench was so strong of the burning flesh that they could barely stand it. And he said after they had conquered in their mind the same people that was responsible for them being alive, they had this day of misgiving, which you call Thanksgiving. This is the real history according to the documents of history. Okay, and you can go and look at J. Rogers. Okay, The Story of Civilization, and read the documents for yourself. So let's get into real quickly let's talk about Columbus, because really up until 1492. Now let's go back in history for a minute. One of the things that happened was that there was a coalition that began to conspire against the Moors in their last great empire in Granada, or Grenada, however you want to pronounce it. There were Black Jews, and there were other people that began to migrate to that area from other places as well. But they conspired against the Moors, and they drove them out of Grenada. So that particular event in history was the catalyst for what we now know was this voyage of Columbus. Some very interesting things happened during this voyage. Okay, number one, in 1492, Columbus sailed, which he thought was, again, they were trying to get to India. And he thought that he had reached India. Really, he had reached the Bahamas. Okay. And so, excuse me, Lance, but he had reached the Bahamas. And so,
Yeah, take your time,
same thing
brother.
happened there. He had about 40 men with him. And, you know, they were starving. They, you know,
Let me
they
let me
barely
just
could,
interject here before the rumors start, brother.
huh?
I had a little cranberry juice here, so my lips are a little red. That is not lipstick.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, the
I get all.
cranberry juice is good for you, man. So so here he stumbled into the Bahamas. Again, the Tainos, like all black people everywhere in the world at that time, they know what I mean. They were looking like, okay, is this a ghost or is this a god or what are they, right? And so after, you know, so Columbus was there for, you know, for a little while, and he left behind, I think he left behind something like 39 men. Okay. Now this is very, very important part of history that they don't put in the history books. Okay. So the Taínos helped them get back, so like with the Paraquat Indians, the same playbook they use everywhere they go. Once they got them back to full strength, okay, you know, the European men started doing all kinds of stuff to the Taínos. Okay, and Will Durant talks about this as well. Okay, but what is his name? Because Columbus himself was not a navigator. What is the brother's name? Pedro Alonso Nina from Sierra Leone. Columbus had met him years earlier because he had. See, these folks don't tell you this whole story. They had been trading with Africans for a long time, and so Columbus learned certain things, and he found out. Okay, there's land. Okay, across the Ethiopian Ocean. By the way, that's what it was called, not the Atlantic Ocean. There is land, and so I don't know exactly how much or what he offered Pedro Alonso Nina, but it was enough to make him want to go, you know, on this voyage. Because without him, Columbus wouldn't have made it, you know, halfway in the Ethiopian Ocean. So when they headed towards, you know, the Americas, there was such a, like, the men, again, you know what they were doing because they ran out of food. Again, we don't want to say anything to get us a strike, but you know how they had to survive, and the ones that was left that survived stumbled on the Bahamas. But they were getting ready to have a bounty, a mutiny on the ship because the men were just exhausted. They said, if we don't get to land soon, we're going to throw you off this ship, this boat in the ocean. And so Pedro Alonso Nina said that, well, no, there are fig trees, figs or twigs in the ocean. There has to be land not far from here. And sure enough, A couple of days or a day later, you know, they stumbled across the Bahamas. So again, this story that I'm getting ready to tell is one that they don't have in the history books. Okay, is that when they got there and they decided, okay, these people with this humble spirit or what have you, we're going to take this land over. Okay, and so once they took the land over, they started putting the Tainos in mines, having them to work like slaves. They started raping, or what is the terminology, politically correct term, SAN, the women. And they started, and the boys, they started doing a whole lot of evil stuff that the Tainos had never seen before. Okay, so imagine that. So Columbus turned it over to one of the men that he had, that he had some trust in, and he said, "Well, I'm going to go. I got to go back and report to that's Isabella, Ferdinand and Isabella, who funded his trip." So he took 10 Tainos back to Spain. Okay, that was the first. So Columbus, in effect, started the, I guess, slave trade, you could call it. He didn't start the original one, but I mean to the when he started trading with them. So he went back to one of the islands that they had stopped at previously to check on what was happening. Okay, now this was his second voyage. After he went to back to Spain and took some Tainos, this was his second voyage, and this is what he recorded in that voyage. That they we went back to the island where he left those men, that all hell had broken out. Okay, and that the Tainos had to kill most of the European men that were left there, and that they had to kill them because right after Columbus left, they started again taking the women, all right, raping them, taking the boys, you know, what they were doing with them, and then they would put some of them in the mines to work, and they had established something that they have always had and exists in our country today. They had these two warring factions, believe it or not, that they have set up, okay, on this island that they had just come to and claimed as theirs. So Columbus was dumbfounded. It was like, well, what happened to all the men? And so one of the Tainos came up and was explaining to Columbus, okay, that, you know, I guess through sign language or however they communicated, and Pedro Nina actually was able to communicate with the Tainos. That's another story in itself. I have to tell another time. But the chief told him that right a couple months after Columbus left, that these European men went wild. You know, they just started burning down stuff. They started arguing over their women. They started, since they couldn't find any gold right away, they made them go in these mines they found and dig until they found gold. And then they started, these two warring factions set up on two opposite sides of the island. Okay, these are from Christopher Columbus, Christopher Colone's diary. And that they had to unalive most of them, or they would have destroyed their civilization. That's how deep that was. So to have a holiday, 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 to have a holi that we grew up celebrating, not knowing what was done to our ancestors, then, you know, in your subconscious, you don't even make the connection to what was done to the African consciousness of our people, of the sun energy of our people. So
Yes, I'll be back in 2 minutes, brother.
yeah, so there is no way that you can bond with this energy. So the other thing that happened too was, so when Columbus came back on that second voyage, the other thing that happened was he decided that he was going to get into, you know, running slaves. And this is how this process, at least here in the Western Hemisphere, we know that the Arabs enslaved our people for over 1,000 years. Okay, so these people that they celebrate in American history, like Ponce de Leon, Vasco da Gama, Hernandez, Bartholomew Diaz. They were not the grandiose conquistadors that history paints them as. And so the reason why I'm talking about all of this today in regards to holidays and what effect they have on a people is because of the celebration of Juneteenth that we just had. Now, a lot of people will say, well, why are you celebrating something that some people look at as in a shameful type of way? Okay. The thing you have to remember about history is that history is history. Okay. And just because the people who rewrote history says one thing about it, it doesn't make it so. Okay. And the point I want to make about the celebration of Juneteenth is that when we celebrate a holiday, it's because it's a festive type of atmosphere. And when you look at our people celebrating, you see this in the soul of Black folks. You see this type of festive joy that you don't see in the celebrations of other people. It's like some type of release, okay? And it reminds me of some of the old churches, particularly in the Pentecostal aspect of Christianity, where you see this burst and this release of energy, okay? And that's what a real celebration, it comes from the joy within the culture of a people. So my answer is yes, we should celebrate everything good and bad that's connected to our experience as a people. That's very important, because when you do that, then you're actually in touch with nature, okay? Because nature just is. It doesn't have to ask for permission to do anything. And so this is what we have been taught. And the sooner we acknowledge this, the better off we are. Now, nobody's saying that you can't celebrate your favorite Christmas, in which we'll end with this. When you look back at the history of this, actually there are several different, but Santa Claus initially was looked at the same way as you guys look at Satan, okay, or the entity you call Satan initially. And then they switched to this monk called Saint Nicholas, okay, who supposedly went around, giving gifts to poor people and stuff like that. And so when the Dutch came, primarily in New York, when they came initially, they brought this tradition with them. And so Black folks picked this up off of the plantations. But the real reason for December 25th is the winter celebration of the winter solstice. And this is what the African mind, the Sun people, Black people, this was a festival, And so solstice just means sun standing still, okay? And you go back as far as you want in history with our people, we always celebrated some form of all the solstices and the equinoxes. We did a show about that as well. We mentioned this. Whereas, again, when you look at European holidays, they're either worshiping a man. Very seldom do they worship. Thank you, Creatrix. I almost forgot this. One of the big things that happened in European history during this age, when they didn't have the spiritual conceptual knowledge that they got from Kemet, was that they began to call women witches. And the reason they did that was, if a woman knew something that a white man didn't know, then they were immediately called witches, and they were, burned at the stake. Okay. And also, the apple, anytime a woman was caught eating an apple, this is how deep their fear and superstition of things are. They burned her at the stake because of this story about Adam and Eve, okay, that they made up. But when you go back to Het Haru, then you also, one of the manifestations was the apple tree, the mother of the harvest. That's what I failed to mention initially. So all of these things they copied from our people, and they just twisted the story a little bit, or they added a little spice, or no, they don't know anything about spices, but they added some other ingredients. But Het Haru, the mother of the harvest that came out of Kibalon, they basically took that concept, which the apple and the apple tree originated from. So they didn't have any concept of, because they couldn't read celestial knowledge, then they came up with this story about the birth of Jesus. But actually what happens is, the beginning of the winter solstice is from when the sun basically, they call standing still, it's from December 21st to midnight to December 24th midnight. Okay. And then that morning, when the sun begins to make its northward journey again, it's called the birth of the sun. Okay. Not the S-O-N, but the S-U-N. Okay. Like you like to say, Lance, not the H-U-M-A-N, the H-U-E-M-A-N. Because people can get things twisted. It could be the same word. It could be an antonym.
Yeah.
It could be the same word and have a different meaning. And so all of these things have been used throughout history to have our people worshiping and bowing down to symbols and images of their conquests. And with that, I think I'll be done today, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, brother, for the time you share.
Yes, sir.
Never,
You're
it's
quite
enough.
welcome.
I feel like that fat kid at the bakery trying to get another piece of cake. It's it's never enough.
Well, again, I see you holding on to
Yes.
the belts. I know I see you didn't schedule as many defense
Right.
title defenses, but this week,
I've been running this
yeah.
week, and I was a little under the weather.
Okay, yeah, right.
But now this week coming in, we're gonna knock them out.
Okay.
These folks are gonna say, "God, dog, don't you slow down." I still have that in me, but it's just so much more that we're planning and doing, and whatever you see tomorrow is what we plan today. Just like now, you know, you see manifested around me to a point. Still stuff going on, and I'm happy for it. So you got to be very strategic, folks, and like fighting 6 people at the same time. You boom, 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 boom.
Oh yeah,
keeping it going.
Oh yeah,
you know,
well, you're doing a great job.
The main thing is to stay focused.
Yeah, you're doing a great job with that, and you know, much love to you and the Queen and all the Skirvites. and
there's that name again, right?
just a little joke, but
no, I know, I like it. I like it. You know, the joke is that if I push that name, which I'm going to do it out of fun, the government's going to start watching me. They're going to say he went to Africa, now he's starting a cult.
That's right. You are absolutely right, brother. But you know, in a funny kind of way, this is something else they have taught us, where the head nigga in charge syndrome we suffer from, whereas we can't elevate or be attached to another brother unless we're warring against them. So, you know, I can't take care of the title. And I was discussing this with the brother that I'm attached to now that works with children, you know, using the hip hop culture. And, you know, the thing is when you empower someone else and you're attached to that, it's a reciprocal, it's this. They've taught us in a 90-degree angle where we're looking at it like, oh, well, I'm competing against him or her.
Right.
Knowing that their energy is empowering you. But because they've always had this duality where they're fighting against each other. There's going to be, you got to be in one camp or the other. And our people are the same way. If you like him, if you like him, then I don't like you. Or if you like her, I don't like you. And this is craziest nonsense in the world. And it affects our people very, very deeply, brother. The hate is real.
Yeah.
We can't
saturated and embedded.
Yes. And these
very
holidays, now I'll tell you what's so crazy about that is, now we can give homage to these people who have destroyed our civilization, like Dr. Chancellor Williams, the destruction of Black civilization. We'll give homage to their holidays with no problem at all. Okay. But the minute somebody link you with another brother or sister, then, oh no, I'm not linked with them. They're whatever, ALHS or whatever they are. I'm not linked with them. Oh, really? Oh, okay. That's good to know. And the other thing, and I'll close on this. The other thing too is, automatic. Wherever you go, no matter what region of the country you go in, what state, what city, whatever, it is the Black people in that city that's going to oppose you. Now, I meet all the time when we're out, you know, getting donors or whatever, and I meet people from all over Europe that are here in the Bay Area. Russian, Dutch, European, British, English. They go everywhere. They're people, and they embrace them. Like, yeah, come on, you know, they go to any state. That's why they can form political, you know, caucuses and pacts where they do things together. We can't do that because there's always got to be a head nigga in charge. That's what you were taught on the plantation.
That's what's happening in Ghana
now. I believe it.
A lot of people come from America. Oh, I'm free. but it's the same stuff. And they start looking, oh, who he think he is? Oh, how does he make it? How does it?
There you go. There you go. And those same people will sit down on Misgiving Day. Oh, thank the Lord, for I got so much to be thankful for, and blah, 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 blah. Really? Well, what about your
Tell you
brother
so much,
over
brother.
there that's suffering, that you have been taught to look down on, okay, because of some inhumane, narcissistic attitude that exists in other people that you worship, that now you have taught our children this. And like that picture I was showing you about the law of, what do they call it? The law of grace, where you can spew hate at people 24/7. And then on Sunday, go to an altar and kneel down to these Luciferians and say, or this big owl and say, forgive me, Lord. Or forgive them.
See?
They know not what they do. No, they know what they're doing.
Binge purge.
Huh?
Like when you eat something you don't want that's bad,
Yeah.
you stick your finger in, and it's the same. You never go anywhere. It's the same cycle. Let me tell you something. Let me throw something out there. There's a lot that I know, a lot that I've seen. We had an ex-pastor come out to Ghana, and he let that go. He's speaking revolutionary talk, black talk, African talk, selling all these properties and ripping people off.
Wow. See,
and I'm more standoffish. I'll vet people more. I'm gonna make sure, because I carried around and put a show, and there were people who called me, Lance. He ripped me off $39,000, $16,000, $85,000. We know it's not you. You were trying to help him out. This is why I stick lean.
He was on your show?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Not live, but recorded, walking amongst the property. And people are like, wow, wow, wow. I don't want nobody to lose their money. I don't rip anybody off. What I'm saying is that these people will see you have a platform and want to utilize it for their greed.
Yeah.
I don't mind YouTube taking the channel. I'm starting all over again number-wise. I'm cool, because I'm going to always do what I do.
Yeah, of course.
But I am not going to deal with any shysters that come in a good name and a good pep talk, a good slick talker. You can get that one for this price. And dealing with people. Oh, I'm calling Lance Scurv. I saw his video. It makes look. These people are vicious. They're vicious. They're vicious, and they look like you and me. We know the enemy, the other enemy. We know what they want to do. They want to wipe us off the face of the earth. But these that come that way, they want to rip us off, suck us down to nothing. Take your dreams and
That's an American.
No, it didn't happen to me. I'm just saying that And I'm so thankful that people know what I'm about. I'm not doing that. I got to check people out. I've had people come to me to want to attack other people who are innocent in other situations. I'm like, well, listen, you come on. First of all, we ain't attacking nobody unless they're attacking us as a whole, and we need to warn people. But you want me to attack one person that you say are doing certain things, but you can't show your face? You want me to be on the manipulate? Big time. This goes deep.
Wow.
And I can name names and stuff. It's crazy. There are people who have, I don't want to say it, but I want to say it in a certain sense. But you rock with them, you help them out, you push them out there, you give them passcodes, and they shut your site down. Happened.
Oh,
2019. Yeah. I'm like, where'd this come from? Come to find out, they thought I was making money off of their videos, but their videos were so out there and good, but it was out there. They had a yellow dollar sign next to it. You have green, yellow, and black when you're not making no money. And I think the accumulation of money she made was like $25 because they were never monetized. I showed her. So she went on to say, Y'all figure it out or text me directly. I'm the one that gave them the money to build their house. What? Like, I don't look, I'm 62 years old. I worked all my life. I'm good with money. I live below my means. Miss Scurv work all her life, right? We sell a house, get a lump sum, and come out. Come on. And then when the person, this is all I'll say, when they transition, everybody comes, oh, did you hear? The last phone call we had was 2 years ago, and they were so arrogant to me. But whoop, I didn't say nothing. You know, doing this stuff, you go through a lot. It's crazy. And that's your own black people who you will even help. I don't even care about I'm going to do that anyway, because you put a good energy out, even if somebody screws you over, it's still going to come back because your intent.
Yeah.
So I'm not bitter.
Right. That's right.
You know, but see, brother, we help each other. Like, you bring your energy, we collect, make it collect. It's synergistic with two people, but it's like the force of 50, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why, if it's not legit, I don't want to be bothered.
I feel you, brother.
I'm cool right here.
On that. That's why, you know, people ask me all the time, well, Neil, why are you always alone? Or why is it? Actually, I prefer being by myself.
Yes.
Well, one thing I want to do, Lance, because I've been accused in the past of this, even with my own family, being insensitive or unemotional or whatever. I don't know what the terminology, but I just want to acknowledge some of the people that follow you and the family. You guys, I do see some of your comments and stuff like that. And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, all of you, one reason I don't like to call names is because I'm always gonna leave somebody out. But there are people on your platform. They know who they are. They're always there, and they always have the empowering words. And I really appreciate that, because energy goes both ways. And you guys are, of course, Lance is like a brother of mine, but even the people that are attached to him, you guys as well. So thank you for all the love. And remember, when we're celebrating any of these holidays, that our primary goal is to uplift each other and our own culture first. All right, brother Lance, I got to get out of here.
And the one more thing for 15 seconds I want to say is that this is just not my platform. We're all a part of the thing, right? And everybody in the chat room, or people who catch it later on, because a bird can't fly with one wing. Remember that.
I like that. I knew you
That's the Scurv original.
I knew he was going to come.
All right, brother.
All right, brother. Peace and love.
Thank you so much.
I'll talk to you again.
Yeah, call me anytime, brother. I'm gonna surprise you this week. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, brother. Yes. Another one in the can. Another one completed. I want to hear from everybody what we should be talking about. I got some topics coming up where I feel I might swing a little short one tonight and keep it out there. I love the energy that's here, and it's a beautiful thing. And we're gonna keep it going. There's so much going on out in the world to talk about in a way that's thought-provoking, to stir up our thoughts, to make us more sharp. I'm not saying I'm some wise man or some wise guy. We need all of us need each other. Iron sharpens iron. And I thank you, and just for you being here to have such a quality, I'll say it, Giant Gain, Scurvite family. Please, nobody don't think I'm trying to start some cult, but I like the way that sounds, right? We'll get more people watching us, right? What's a Scurvite? What is that all about? But it is a beautiful thing. Yes, Cheryl Williams, welcome back. Welcome back home. Yes, I'm happy you're here too, and everybody that's here. Sweet D, Cheryl, of course, Giant Gain, NFN Shaka, Diane. Yes, let me go up the list. I might say some names twice because I'm looking down. Let me see who else. give the love and the shout out. EM Webb, I don't know if you're still here, but I'm here. And we're going to sign this out. I'm going to pick something short to talk about and maybe do a face or faceless video. And from the platform Kick, Sleepy who? Daenerys. I don't know how this platform's going to work out, but look at the logo there. Kick, that's a new one. Never heard about that before. So I said, let me just add it on in. And Libby Lou, she was the first one on in. Thank you so much for being here. Let me play around with a few graphics. Let me see what's out there hot to talk about. And maybe we'll do something a little controversial, a little rant or something. We'll see. But that's the way I like to do it. So let's rock with that. And let me play something here and let it roll. All right. I'll see you soon. Much love.
Globetrotter, so shocker. I keep it in the chrome locker. Don't rock up, I counter it with no offer. I don't wanna, I'm too busy, so chocker. Call me Mr. Roadblocker. I make a whole number turn to an eighth. Learn from mistakes, got the whole world on my plate. Nothing worse than my fate. Say your words get burnt on a stake. Took a turn for the cake, so we turn and we say, always had the power, open up from deep within. There's something that empowers me to draw a line under my sins. I never understood why there was such a way to live, and I'm stuck against a wall that keeps defining me as him. I'm painting never-ending canvases while I wrap them up in bandages and coexisting while ending what my anger is. Paying for no damages, I'm speaking universal languages. Out here, always seem to see the light. Never meant to be the vibe, but severed every reason why. Freedom got me talking all this peace and light, but wouldn't think twice to give a beating to an evil guy. Cause I'm worked up and worked out. I've served up and swerved down. Try turn up, not turn round. Keep that vibe up and surf sound. Rise up and burn down.
Finding the finish line, sky is the limit, I'm riding the minutes. Grind with the realest, I'm climbing the hill, it's fine, time to come with it. Finding the finish line, sky is the limit, I'm riding the minutes. Grind with the realest, I'm climbing the hill, it's fine, time to come with it.
Shit, a go-getting headbanger. You best go get your best hammer. I'm getting dough, let the rest hang up. Catch me rolling in the 10 manner as I'm rolling up a king banner. It's like I saw it as it happened. It's like I'm orbiting round Saturn. I saw my chance and made a run for the light under the skies where we form an orderly fashion. Tried to take a course without crashing. Someone put some sauce in the wagon. Feeling slightly more debauched, racking rails of this flake, but I guess they say it's all about balance. Or whatever helps you sleep at night. I got that chem dog creeping through the reefer pipe. Is this the end of being in the deeper side? It all depends on the people and their feelings, right? Burn out, too much working on the other side. Trying to be other guys, but never let it slide. Turns out I'm a demon in disguise. Acting like you never seen it in my eyes. Not a lot to say, but got a lot of reason to be nice. So lock it off today and drop it off from evening into night. I got a proper way of speaking from my mind, and I won't stop today, been peaking all my life.
Finding the finish line, sky is the limit, I'm riding the minutes. Grind with the realest, I'm climbing the hill, it's fine, time to come with it. Finding the finish line, sky is the limit, I'm riding the minutes. Grind with the realest, I'm climbing the hill, it's fine, time to come with it.